Hi, I'm Michaela, and I am an Adaptivework Quickstart consultant with Kolme Group, one of Planview's premier implementation partners. Today, we're going to simulate a day in the life of a project manager as it relates to the Kolme Group PMO Quickstart package. In my first video, called Planview Adaptivework PMO Quickstart Services Overview, I'll walk you through what a PMO Quickstart is, what the typical timeline is, and how you can prepare. I will briefly touch on a few points from the first video before we dive into the project lifecycle demonstration today. We have onboarded many PMOs, and they all end up asking for many of the same configurations and functionality. In order to create the PMO Quickstart package, we took the most commonly requested functions and made a quick launch PMO product. With the PMO Quickstart, your team will bring the project and user data to be managed in a system, while we configure the automated workflows that provide vital project lifecycle governance and processes to your PMO. With the Quickstart package, we aim to address the common pain points our customers want solutions for. For example, we provide a governed project lifecycle to give your PMO visibility into your team's workload. We also provide scoring and prioritization functionality so your PMO can evaluate incoming projects against company goals. Another common pain point is visibility into portfolio health. So we train your team on creating reports and portfolios so you can easily evaluate what key metrics matter most. The PMO Quickstart comes with a lot of content to get your organization started. For today's session, we will cover the project lifecycle in a project manager role, which is only one of 6 user roles we provide your team. The forms and automations you see in this video are custom to the PMO Quickstart product. Let's get started. I'm logged into Adaptivework, and you can see I'm logged in as an example. She'll be my project manager user today. Upon login, I landed on the Project Manager homepage. This is a customized page that will be updated to match your company's branding images, logo, and colors. We can also add different shortcut tiles here at the bottom to help your users get to what's important quickly. For example, if I click on the Projects tile here, it will navigate me to a list of my projects so I can begin working immediately. All right, let's go back to the homepage now and start with the new project to kick off our project lifecycle demo. I'm going to submit a project intake request by expanding my left navigation bar, clicking on Actions, and New Project Intake Form. Here is the first of many custom forms you will see today. The forms are customizable up to their respective field quotas, and for intake, you can get up to 10 fields. While project name and project manager are required by the system, any other fields can be swapped out with a different data point as desired. Mandatory fields are represented by this red asterisk and can be used to require certain key data points at project intake. I'm going to give my project a descriptive name, and it's going to be called the PMO Quickstart Project Manager Demo. Next, I have a 2,000 character text area here to describe my project description. All right, now for my project type. You can see there are many options here in this list, but it can be slimmed down to list your company's top project types. I'm going to choose development for today's demonstration. Next is the project manager selection. It is defaulted to the user who's submitting the form, but I can clear their name out and type in another user. This would be, for an example, if I'm submitting the form on their behalf. I am going to put Anne's name back in for just a moment. And let's go on to start date now. So the start date does default to today's date, but I can change it by clicking on my calendar icon to select a future date. We'll just start 1 week from now. Okay, next intake field is committed date. It doesn't have an asterisk, so it's not required. I'm just going to leave it blank for today. Project template. A template is created by an administrator and acts as a framework for my project. It has many preset data points, milestones, and tasks to reduce the amount of overhead work required for starting up a new project. Today, I'm going to use a project manager demo template for the demonstration. All right, so then I'm going to attach a file. Let's go ahead and open up these files here. Click New, and I'll select a file. I'm going to do a sample SOW document for the demonstration. Now that I've filled out the form, let's go ahead and click OK to submit. The system's now creating my new project, updating the fields I inputted on the form, it's applying the project template, and attaching that SOW file. There, in just a moment, will be a success message that pops up at the top of my screen with a hyperlink to my new project. Let's get our bearings on this screen for a moment. Here by the project title is the property card, which can be considered a quick information card. I can see my project type, project manager and start date, description, and so on have been updated accordingly. If I scroll down a little bit, here's the work plan. I can see there are multiple milestones that came over from my project template. When I open one of these milestones, I can see the tasks housed under it with the respective duration and effort values shown here. Lastly, in my related menu on the right, here I can see the sample SOW document I attached. At this point, the project intake phase is considered complete. So let's move on to scoring and prioritization. I'll open my scoring form by clicking on Actions and Project Scoring and Prioritization. Here's the next customizable form, and it comes with up to 7 fields total. We've added commonly requested fields on the form for demonstration. I will quickly input my responses and click Submit. Now that I've scored my project, I'm going to need to submit for review and approval. I'm going to click on the Actions menu again, then Submit for Governance Board approval. Let's check the Ready for Review box, give a justification, and then designate a no commit level and press OK. Once I've submitted my project request to the PMO for review, I can no longer make edits to the scoring criteria. The success message also lets me know that I will be notified by email when my project receives a decision. In the meantime, I can see an email was sent out on behalf of my project. This email is system generated and it notifies the PMO or other review committee that a new project request is ready for review. They can click on this hyperlink here to navigate directly to my project from their email. I'm now going to pull over another browser to show you what the PMO manager approval process looks like. I have a list here of project requests awaiting decision. The PMO members or project approvers can view the individual responses made on the scoring form as well as the final project score. This field's calculations can be updated to match your company's scoring values and weighted criteria for project prioritization. Once I've reviewed this project request, I can move forward with my decision. I'm going to click on the Actions menu here, and this is going to pop up a new custom form. This form is not customizable outside of the approval and comments decision. Here I will designate an approval process and I can add comments here. Then once my form is complete, I will click OK. My response has been recorded, and if I refresh this screen, that project will roll off this view. So I always have a rolling view of the projects awaiting approval. Let's go back to my project and see what changes have been made. I can see a new email went out. This is also a system-generated email, and it was sent to the project manager letting them know that their project was approved. At this point, the scoring and prioritization phase is complete. Let's roll into project activation. Project activation can go a couple of different ways depending on the resource management methods you are looking to implement. First off, we will train your onboarding team on resource management functionality present in the system, like managing resource loads versus availability. I'm very quickly going to open up my project activation form here. If new projects will first pass through a resource manager for assignment, the resource manager will be able to assign a new project manager by using this form. If the project requesters usually become the project managers, then they would complete this form to formally activate their project. I will keep the project managers and leave an overall summary. Then click OK. The project is now active, and another system-generated email went out to the project manager with a link to the project and any notes from the resource manager or project manager. Okay, we can now see this project lifecycle panel popped up. From here, this panel will update as I progress through my project phases. This panel is customizable to match up to 3 different life cycles, all having different project phases. For example, this would be only one of 3 different possible life cycles available. It can be dependent on project type, department, or any other distinction. I'm going to scroll down to my work plan now. I started off with the project template, so instead of recreating my entire work plan, I'll just need to make some tweaks based on my project's needs. I can add a new task by selecting on my milestone, clicking Add, and then Task. I can also delete unnecessary tasks from my work plan by selecting on them and clicking Delete. The scheduled dates for my tasks and the hours of effort required for them can be updated accordingly. There is an ability to capture dependencies between tasks, so when I push one task out, it's going to push the next upcoming task out as well. I'm not going to dive much further into work plan management today, but just be aware that our team will train yours on work plan functionality as part of our PMO Quickstart package. I'm now going to begin assigning my project resources. I'm going to add myself on this review task here. And then on this next task, I'm going to add myself and Courtney. So we can have multiple resources on one task. I can also use keyboard shortcuts to copy and paste resources to multiple tasks across my project plan. All right, let's fast forward a moment to when I completed my project planning. I'm about to baseline my project by selecting on my project level, clicking Utilities, and then Save as Baseline. The system is going to save my work plan and the key dates for my milestones and tasks to be referenced later. So a month or 2 from now, when I want to check how my current plan looks compared to my initial one, I can click on this view here, Baseline Scheduling. It will show me my work plan with the current scheduled dates versus the baseline I just took a moment ago, as well as any variance between those dates. All right, let's go ahead and go back to my project overview. So at this point, my project team and I are actively working on completing our project tasks. Let's look at this review SOW task down below. Okay, here, let's say I completed this task and it's time to report time. I can either open up my timesheets module here, indicated by the stopwatch icon, or I can select on my task and click Report Time. I'm going to report 2 hours for reviewing my SOW. Then I have the option to mark as overtime if my organization allows. And then click Save. Once I've reported time, we can see that the aggregated time entries are going to show right here for all of my project resources. In the work plan, I can also see how that reported time reflects against my plan. I estimated 2 hours of effort, then reported 2 hours of effort in my timesheet. The system is now going to auto-calculate my percent complete based on those 2 values. So this is why we see the 100% complete here. I'm now going to go ahead and mark this task as complete to finish it. As my team and I continue to work on the tasks within my plan, I'm going to mark them complete. I can mark the individual tasks complete, or for example, I can just select my initiation milestone to mark it as well as its sub-items completed. Okay, let's switch gears here a little bit and progress my project to the next phase, planning. I'm going to scroll up to the top here and click on my Next Step button. A new custom form is going to come up, giving me the option to record scope creep and submit a change request. I'm going to leave everything blank for now and move on to my next phase. In the Lifecycle panel, I can see that my project phase has moved on to planning. My project team and I will continue working on the tasks and report our time. I'm now going to report some rate items. I'm going to add a risk to my project by selecting this big blue Add Related button here, and then selecting Risk. This form here is native to the system and can be edited to include different data fields here to better fit your company's processes. I'm going to add a generic task here called "Here is a risk." Then I can add a quick description, and then I'm going to designate an impact level of 5 and percent probability of 50%. Lastly, I'm going to leave my risk strategy as accepted for now and click Save. While I'm here, I'm going to update my risk status to in work by clicking on my state and clicking in work. This is going to show it's no longer submitted and I'm actively working on mitigating this risk. Next, I'm going to add an action item here and say that I need to order vital equipment. The action items can be great for tracking quick to-dos on the project that aren't necessarily tasks within my work plan. I'll click Save, and it's going to appear here. I have the option to add other RAID items like issues and decisions, but we'll move on for now. Let's go ahead and advance to our implementation phase now. I'm going to mark my my planning milestone is complete, and then click the next step button to move on to implementation. Okay, so at this time I am going to log some scope creep. Let's say the vital equipment I needed to order is taking longer to ship than anticipated. So I'm going to check yes to my scope creep and give a description of my schedule delay. Okay, I'm not going to submit a change request this time and then press next. That scope creep I logged can be found at the bottom here in the discussion section. It's going to tell all collaborators that scope creep was identified in the planning phase and then the description I provided on that form. My team can like the message to acknowledge it or even reply to continue to collaborate further. Next, let's move on to generating our weekly status report. I'm going to scroll back up to the top of my project, select Actions, Status Report Update. This next custom form has a 9-field limit. It can be submitted on a weekly basis to capture my most up-to-date project status. Let's go ahead and fill out my executive overview here and see these few status options below. You can see that schedule status and budget status are already pre-populated. That's because these statuses come standard with the system and are automatically calculated based on work, time reported, due date, etc. They can be overwritten here if allowed by my organization. Let's say my project has an overall status of at risk, scope status on track, schedule status at risk because of my scope creep I just identified, and then we'll put budget, resource, and risk status on track. Okay, next I'm going to log what I accomplished and what I plan to accomplish. Now that my form is complete, I'm going to click OK to submit. The success message here tells me my notes were captured. I can either access my status report by either reopening the form once more or clicking on More Info here on the information card and reference the status section. Now that I've updated my project status, it's time to generate my one-click status report by clicking on Actions, Publish Slides. A new form is going to pop up, and this one comes from an application called Slide Publisher. This application takes a PowerPoint template and maps my project data to it. This feature is a client favorite. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So at the top, I'm going to choose a template file here by opening my data picker and going with the Kolme Quickstart Slide Publisher Status Report. Next, I'm going to append my file name with today's date so I know exactly when this status report was submitted. Lastly, I'm going to attach the published file to my project. I have the option to add a discussion post or send an email out if I fill up my subject and body fields. We're going to click Next. The system is taking that PowerPoint template I chose and mapping my project data to it. Please keep in mind that Slide Publisher is not compatible with Google Slides, but your team can convert the PowerPoint files to slides after the system has generated the final copy. Let's go ahead and open that file now to see what it looks like. We can see the project manager and due date and percent complete have been filled out. My status report responses here and here have been brought over. I can see the top risks that are assigned to my project, as well as my open and completed milestones. In a matter of 5 minutes, I can have a status report ready to go. Let's go ahead and fast forward a bit to the end of my implementation phase. I'm going to mark my implementation milestone as complete to simulate this. I'm going to now move on to my closing phase by clicking Next Step, Move to Closing. This time we're going to log a change request. The vital equipment I ordered will not arrive on time, so I need to push out my project timeline. I'm going to fill out the scope creep once more with some details. And then I'm going to check the change request box and click Next. A new form will come up called Change Request Details. Let's append the title with some more details. And then I can add additional details to my description as needed. Okay, once my form's complete, I can go ahead and click Next. Please be aware that the change request functionality does not have any additional automation for tracking and closing change requests. The change request will need to be reviewed and addressed manually by the project manager based on your internal company processes. Let's scroll down again to the discussion post section to see that new scope creep was logged. The change request is also submitting a request item on my project, so let's go ahead and open that up. All right, now this looks similar to the project, but this time we're looking at a request that I can see here at the top. I'm going to open my information card here and resolve this change request. Under my resolution details, I'm going to say that it was resolved by myself on today's date, and then give it some resolution details of how I fixed this. Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to mark my request as closed because it's been completed. Let's go back to my project now and extend my project due date to account for the schedule delay. So let's open up closing and push out my closing task by 1 week. We can see my project due date is updated accordingly as well. At this point, my project team are wrapping up our final project activities, reporting our final hours on the project, and closing out our RAID items. Once I'm ready to close out my project entirely, I'm going to scroll to the top again, click my next step, Close Out Project. This is our final custom form, which can include up to 3 fields on it. For my form here, I'm going to mark my actual end date as the project due date of December 14th. Then click OK. We can see that my project state now shows complete up top here, and when we scroll down to my work plan, all of my items in my work plan show completed as well. Lastly, my open RAID items have been marked closed as well, so that they are not remaining open after my project has been wrapped up. All right, this concludes the day in the life of a project manager demo for our Kolme Group PMO Quickstart product. Thanks for joining. If you're interested in getting started with the Kolme Group PMO Quickstart package, call our sales team at 480-359-6596 or visit kolmegroup.com to book your consult.